Welcome back to the Will Cain Show. We're hanging out with Michelle Tafoya, the host of the Michelle Tafoya podcast. I'm not into dual citizenship, by the way, Michelle. I don't like it, even when Republican congressmen, for example, wore the uniform of the IDF on the floor of Congress. I don't like any question about where our fealty
and that the American flag is a sign of white supremacy. So you start coming for that flag. Well, we saw what some of those frat boys did. Where was that again, Will? When they protected the flag? Was it at, there we go, North Carolina, UNC. But, you know, this is a national flag that represents every human being that is a citizen of this country. And so it's not racist. It represents all of us. And so when you start slicing and dicing, this is the slicing and dicing of human beings into these sub-identity groups drives me nuts. And one example, and I know you'll know this one, is suggesting that one black quarterback is more black than another or more authentically black than another because of the way he might dress or wear his hair or talk. That is insane. So to say that, you know, this argument came up recently, and I had Ryan Clark, the ESPN analyst, on my podcast to discuss it, that Lamar Jackson would be the most authentically black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Not Doug Williams, not Russell, not, you know, Patrick, because Patrick's mom is white and Patrick's married to a white woman. So that makes him more mainstream and less authentically black. That to me.
Wow. How did that go, Michelle, with Ryan Clark?
It was really interesting. You should watch it.
Did you debate?
All your viewers should watch it. No, it's in the bank. It's already on the YouTube channel, or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. He is there. I was trying to be very respectful, Will. I wanted to listen to him, and I thought he was great for volunteering to come on and talk about it. But in the end, he really is saying that there is a difference. And yeah, could you say that Patrick Mahomes is more mainstream than Lamar Jackson? Maybe you could say that. Does that make him less black or less authentically black? I think that's the question. Or Russell Wilson, you know? And he even cited that Russell Wilson's first wife was white, even though now he's married to Ciara. And, you know, it's just that kind of nuance to identifying who people authentically are. That should trouble people.
Do you know what's interesting about that, Michelle? Of course, I know what you're talking about, and I know what they're talking about. Look, I've been around black culture enough to know what they're talking about, okay? What's interesting, though, is in American pop culture writ large, including dialogue within Black America, there is a push towards accepting people as individuals and not policing them as the choices they make as an individual, right? So there's a great amount of liberty given to who you are and expressing yourself who you are. But then on the other side, which is in total contradiction to it, simply the idea of being authentically black suggests there are people who are worthy of doing it and are doing it, which is police other people into what it means to be authentically black. You see what I'm saying? You're denying them as individuals. You're denying Patrick Mahomes as an individual by suggesting that some other person is authentically black, and you're defining authentic blackness. Yeah. And I get where it's coming from, but it's not coherent. It reflects a lack of coherence in their own thoughts. And I actually think it really robs people of their individual and their humanity for some other group, ill-defined, to be able to say what is real, what's authentic, and what is not.
Why? And who gets to make those definitions? You know, who gets to say who's authentically feminine? Who gets to say who's authentically Hispanic? Am I? Because my dad sure was. But most people don't know that. Okay. So how far does this go? And I asked Ryan Clark that. When do we stop? You know, saying the first this, the first that, and he said, as soon as there are no more firsts. And I thought, well, but see, people want to be the first something. It's this sort of look at me, attention seeking society we're living in. So, you know, I could say, well, I was the first female sideline reporter who was Hispanic and had brown eyes and brunette and olive skin. That makes me a first. It's silly. It's just silly.
And he was arguing on this case that Lamar Jackson would be the first authentically black quarterback to win the Super Bowl.
He wouldn't go and he wouldn't use the term authentic and black together. He said, Lamar is authentically representing a culture. And I said, well, what culture is that? And he said, that's the black culture. So he was circling around.
What does that say to Doug Williams? What does that say to Doug Williams?
Exactly. Listen, we cannot forget that Doug Williams broke ground and that he was the first.
Right.
Period.
Right.
The end.
Well, I will definitely check that out. I think everybody listening should check that out on the Michelle Tafoya podcast. By the way, Michelle, we got the AFC and NFC championship games this weekend. I just want to take your pulse on something. Okay. Monday night, national championship game, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I'm going to be honest. I've never done this in my life on a game that big. I had it on Fox News for the first quarter more than I did on ESPN. I was more riveted by Donald Trump taking a freewheeling 60-minute Q&A session while writing executive orders and changing America than I was the first quarter of Ohio State Notre Dame. I've never done it in my life. But I also think this week, like I'm still riveted by what's happening in America when it comes to Donald Trump, more than I'm focused on the AFC and NFC championship games.
It's going to be an interesting weekend.
Michelle Tafoya, thanks so much for being on the Will Cain Show.
You got it, Will. Anytime. Good to see you. And congrats again, if I can get that. Congrats again on the new show.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'll see you back here, right here, same time, same place, again, for the Will Cain Show. I'll see you next time.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos. Fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.